Hey, we've made it! Thank you so much for coming back. I promise you're going to find this worth your while as we look to do these videos to underpin the learning that you've been taking on board from reading the 5 ways to survive in the hospitality sector. And before we get started, it's really key that we go through the homework here about how these modules are set up and what we're looking to do. So as you can see, there are 5 core modules. The 5 core modules all underpin the learning that you will get from the ebook, the 5 ways to survive in the hospitality sector. So I can't stress this enough. You must read the ebook before you come and skip through these modules, because it's the modules that we're going to be doing right now are going to underpin the learning that you've read from the ebook of the 5 ways to survive. So it's really imperative that you read that before you come through these. So if you're here and you haven't read that ebook yet, I can wait around. It's fine. Put me on pause. Go away and read the ebook. I promise you it's the best way to take in this learning. So in this process of the modules, we're going to be very much looking at going through the 5 modules that underpin the 5 ways to survive. It works out, right? So again, the same with going away and reading the ebook first. The other part of the homework here is don't skip ahead. Don't go fighting your way through and going to module number 5 first and skipping module number 1. They're put in that way, in that order, because we're dissecting that iceberg from the top all the way down to the bits that are submerged under the water. So you've got to work your way down in that way. They've been developed in that particular way to help you with your learning. So please, if you're skipping ahead, stop, come back to this module. I'll repeat at the beginning of every module, but do come back and start at the very beginning. So without further ado, what we're looking at doing here is we're looking to help and underpin, like we've already said, the learning you get from the ebook. So the first element and the first module that we're going to look here is around reviews, and more reviews. So important. These are the elements that is going to be so customer facing. It's the bit that's going to be looking at helping you to get your clients. It's the end product that then pulls them back through the door. And it's so critical to your businesses, and it's going to be so critical to your survival. So getting started, let's have a look at what it is we're going to cover in this particular session. So we're going to go through, what are the concerns, man? What is it that's bothering you so much about reviews? What is on your mind? What have you been hearing, the whisperers and the murmurs on the underground grapevine of what everyone's saying about why you should be so bothered about reviews and stay away from them? What is it that people are talking about? And then what we want to do is, after we've done that, is debunk the myths. Let's demystify this whole process, and let's look at some of the bare bones facts of this process. Once we've done that, let's go away and have a look at how we can look at your reviews and how can those reviews give you more customers. How is it that reviews can have that impact on your particular business? And then, of course, once we've gone through that process, let's get your reviews to work for you. How do we do that? How do you position it so that now you're aware reviews can equal customers? How can you get your reviews to equal more customers? But a key element here, as I've just said to you, this is the tip of the iceberg. So it doesn't end here. What are the other elements that we need to look at, and how do these underpin this particular section? So you've got concerns with reviews. Of course you do. Who doesn't? It's serious out there. We've all heard the rumors. We've all heard the concerns. People are faking it until they are making it. It's a fact that they are, but they're not going to be making it for very long. Key here around this particular process, guys, is people are putting out fake reviews on their own review sites, either on Facebook, their website, TripAdvisor, Yelp, you name it. They're paying people to come onto their sites and write these reviews, realistic reviews, not outlandish. We are great and amazing. You must come and visit us because we're the best restaurant in the whole of Hampshire. They're not saying that, but they're doing realistic reviews that are tantalizing enough to get people to want to come to the restaurant, but not so tantalizing that it's unrealistic. People can buy it. And that's the thing that they're doing. And they work. So people are visiting those restaurants based on those fake reviews. So if people are faking these reviews, what chance do you stand by going through the genuine way and actually trying to get reviews to come on board? If all these people are faking it, is that not counterproductive to this whole process? Does that not show that this whole process is fundamentally flawed? And the message around that is, and it's being absolutely honest, it is flawed. It is absolutely flawed. But we will come back onto those bits later on. But the key thing around faking it until you're making it is it works in the short term. It doesn't work in the long term. So when you get someone who comes along to your restaurant and they read the review and they go, wow, this place sounds amazing. We've got to go there for my daughter's birthday. She's turning 10. I've got to go to this restaurant for her 10th birthday based on these reviews. And you turn up and you find out actually it's not the same. These reviews don't reflect what's actually happening in that restaurant. And of course, why would they? These are people that have never visited that are being paid to write reviews about a restaurant they've never been at. So when you do get there, it's so breathless. It leaves you absolutely deflated that this is nothing like what you thought it was going to be. And the worst case about that is if they'd never read those reviews in their life about how fantastic that place is or how realistically fantastic that place is, then they wouldn't be so deflated. And it's this process that makes people actually want to go on to these review sites and write these reviews that go the other direction. They're not just going to say, oh, do you know what? It was average. It was what I was expecting based on the reviews that were there. We chose to go there. There are some good points. There are some bad points. They don't write reviews like that. They're going to go on there and say, this was nothing like what I thought it was going to be. Don't go there. It's not like this. It means that these companies are going to have to invest more and more in getting more and more of these fake reviews to help to keep their ratings up. It means that these companies are on this endless cycle of faking and faking and faking, and they're never actually making anything. These people will go there once, they will tell their friends, colleagues, families, whoever they can find, that if they're ever considering to go into this restaurant, do not go. They're going to lose not just the customers that turn up to the restaurant, but the other customers that those customers know, and they're not going to go there either. So they're actually reducing the pool of customers they're going to get in the long term, and they're going to find it harder unless they change. So faking it until you're making it works in a short-term scenario. It does not work longer term. And longer term doesn't just mean you're going to have something that's going to be more sustainable over the long term in the future of more flocks of people coming into your restaurant. It means that you're going to get more regular customers, more repeat custom, more people that have been there that are spreading the word to other people that they know that this is the place to come to. But worse than faking your own reviews is faking the reviews on your competitors, going onto their sites and writing realistic again, but negative reviews on your competitors' sites. You may have already experienced this process yourself. People coming on and writing reviews about a restaurant they've never been to that are negative to try and drive your ratings and your rankings down so they can overtake you and get more customers. It's ruthless. But again, that won't work in the long term. It may work in the short term to have some impact or some issues on your business, but in the long term, that's going to be unrealistic. Normally, you can find these reviews quite quickly. We've seen in the past that people actually respond. Some respond in a very positive way. Some people respond in a very negative way, which is not going to help in any way, shape, or form because it just makes you look more akin to what those reviews are trying to say rather than against it. But actually, if you're focusing on your reviews in the first place and focusing on the long-term positive reviews and trying to get those long-term positive reviews, you can actually counteract some of the negative and sub-poor reviews that these other competitors and genuine people are actually leaving on your review sites. And then that brings us to the biggest concern that most people will have. And if you haven't seen this already, then YouTube is the forum you need to go on to try and find more about this. But a lot of people have already witnessed this and seen it, and that is the shed at Dulwich. So, just for those 1 out of 10 people that haven't read about this or seen about this or heard about it and seen the videos on YouTube. The Shed in Dulwich, bit of a background. A reporter who was actually being paid by restaurants to write fake reviews decided this process is broken. But he didn't want to just say, as a journalist, hey guys, this process is flawed. He wanted to evidence that it was flawed, and he wanted to do it in such a way that it could be indisputable that this process is flawed, which it is. And his way of doing that was to set up a fake restaurant, a restaurant that did not exist. It did not serve food, it did not have paying customers. In fact, this restaurant was actually a shed in the guy's garden. How he set about it was, he set up a mobile telephone number for the restaurant. He set up a website. He took pictures of fake food that he even so jokingly placed on his foot and took pictures of, that people were actually saying, this looks amazing, this is a place to go for. He put all of this on there, and not only did he put this on TripAdvisor and set up this fake restaurant, and he did it in such a way that he made his life difficult to prove fundamentally how flawed this process was. He did it in one of the most difficult areas to be a rated and reviewed restaurant. He did it in London. There are over 18,000 restaurants rated on TripAdvisor in London. And through this process, they became #1. Yeah, that's right. A place where it was not a restaurant, it was a shed in the garden, served no food, had no customers, became the #1 rated restaurant in London out of over 18,000 other restaurants, solely based on reviews. That's right, I just said solely based upon their reviews. So, if someone can do something like that with these reviews, why on earth am I here saying to you right now and writing in an ebook that reviews are a critical element to your survival in the hospitality sector? And that is a good question. So the important thing to remember here is everything we've just discussed, the whole process of all the concerns, are all your concerns. They're all about you. It's all about you. And the key part to all of this and all of these reviews for you is it's not about you. You've got to remember, you are not the person who's reading the review. You're not the person who's going into the bar, bistro, cafe, restaurant, hotel, and you're not the one that's spending your money in these venues or in your restaurant or in your hotel or whatever it is that you own. You are not the person who is going in there and spending your hard-earned cash. It's your clients, it's your customers. It's about them. It's not about you. So no matter how you feel about your reviews, no matter what your opinion is on reviews, it's not your opinion that counts. You've got to remember it's your customer's opinion. And your customers are reading the reviews. Let's just have a look for a minute. So, let's debunk these myths. Let's look at the facts, the cold facts. If you have a restaurant or a cafe, 60% of your customers will look at your reviews and choose where to eat on the basis of the reviews they have read. Let me just say that again. Over half, 60% of people are making their decisions on where to dine based on the reviews that they read. That means it doesn't matter if they're fake. It doesn't matter if they're not true. They are making their decisions based upon them anyway. So the key aspect here is this is why people are trying to fake it before they make it. They see this as an easy fix, a quick win, a route around a difficult and complicated process that makes their life easier but still gets them in business. They're trying to abuse the system. Otherwise, why are they trying so hard and paying people to come and write fake reviews, realistically fake reviews, on their TripAdvisor sites, on their Facebook, on their websites, on their Yelp? Why are they doing that and taking so much attention and spending so much money on something if it wasn't something that was going to work in their interest? It would be a waste of money. And the reason they're doing it is because they know that over half of the people are making their decisions as to where to dine tonight based on those reviews. Now, that we said that works in the short term, but not in the long term. But that's the reason why they're trying to fast track it. They're fast tracking it, but they're not really, because as we've already discussed, they're going to have to repeat that cycle over and over, and they're going to make the pool of customers that they're going to get and attract smaller and smaller and smaller every time they do it. But get this, if you're a hotel, it's not 60%. No. It jumps way up to 80%. Just think about it for a minute. If you go to stay anywhere, even if it's in your country or you go abroad, wherever it is you go, you look at the reviews. Of course you do. Of course you do. Just think about it this way as well. When you're going out for a meal, when you're ordering a takeaway, what do? Do you go on Just Eat and just pick the first Chinese restaurant that comes up? No. You look at the reviews. Do you just go to the first hotel that appears up in the list? No. You look at the reviews. It's common sense and people are doing it. So 80% of people are looking at where to stay based on the reviews, and 60% of people are looking where to eat and where to dine or what takeaway food they're going to eat based on the reviews. This means it's going to make a fundamental difference to your business. Whether you choose to pay attention or you choose to ignore the reviews, it's going to impact on you. You may know it, you may not know it, but it will definitely impact on your business. There are definitely businesses out there who are saying, I don't advertise in the paper, I don't advertise online, all I base my custom on is my reviews, because it pulls people in through the door to my restaurant. And then from there on, people then spread word of mouth that brings more people into my restaurant. But equally, it can break your restaurant. There are people out there who are saying one bad review in my B&B, and it's not only causing me issues in my business, it's causing me health concerns for myself. It's driving people into depression about what's happening in their business based on a negative review, which they disagree with, but it's regardless. Look at the impact it can have. There is light and there is shade in this argument, and you can be somewhere within that spectrum, but you have the choice where to be. By ignoring your reviews, you're choosing to be in the shade area, where you're going to have an impact, but you may not know that you're having one. By choosing to look at your reviews and trying to pay attention to these bits and pieces, you give yourself a bigger chance of survival. It doesn't guarantee survival, but it gives you more opportunity in a very competitive and very complex and very difficult market out there. At this moment in time, you can do with anything that can give you any competitive advantage. And your reviews is one key area. You want to be in the bit that helps you to make your business rather than the bit that helps you to break your business. So, moving forward, we want to look at how these reviews can now equal more customers. Let's bring in the cash pig. Woo, there it is. It came in eventually. So, we want to know, how can reviews equal customers? How does that happen? What does it do? And we're going to come back to the shed in Dulwich for this, because whilst the shed in Dulwich proved how fundamentally broken TripAdvisor and that process is, it also shows us how powerful it also is and why it's something you need to take very seriously. It has a very converse message that I don't think everybody had got from that. And that is this: if that person had an actual restaurant, if they had an actual business, if it served actual food, and it had actual customers coming in and paying, leaving actual real reviews like that, they would have been the number one business in London. The number one business in London. It means they would be the top ranked restaurants in London. For example, if you are on the 4th page of Google, it's unlikely people are going to come and find you. If you're on the 4th page of TripAdvisor because you're ranked number 1652, it's unlikely people are going to come and find you. So getting higher ranked and getting more positive reviews to base that on is going to give you more customers, because you're going to be found so much easier by everybody who's looking for somewhere to eat in London. or in Southampton, or in Newcastle, or Leeds, or Manchester, Birmingham, wherever you are. It's going to have the same effect and same impact. And the key lesson that we get from the shed at Dulwich is this. They got to the #1 spot, even though they had no restaurant, even though they didn't do any food, even though when they did actually bring in some small paying clients, they served them microwave food, but they were blindfolded, of course. But because of all the hype, they actually believed that this food was so great and fantastic. They bought into it wholeheartedly and thought it was amazing, but it was just like microwave noodles or whatever. And actually, they didn't have a venue. It was just a shed in a garden. But they were getting their phone ringing off the hook for people wanting to come and book. People were trying to find out in forums, blogs, how could they get a seat at the shed in Dulwich. They'd heard all these great things. All of a sudden, people were coming out saying their friends had died there. Of course, some of it was the journalist friends that were spreading that message. But of course, other people were doing it too. People were buying into that hype. And it all stemmed from one thing, and one thing only: reviews. They didn't advertise, they didn't put anything in a paper, they didn't put leaflets on people's cars, they didn't post menus through a door, they did none of that. There was no real word of mouth because there was no one actually eating at the restaurant. It was all based on reviews. It was all based on the reviews that have been written, the positive reviews that have been written, that drove that business to being the #1. Whoa, hang on a minute. Said business there. That drove that fake business to being the #1 in London out of 18,000 restaurants. If that doesn't show the power of reviews and the power of TripAdvisor and the impacts it can have on your business, quite frankly, I don't know how else to sell to you that this is something that can make a fundamental difference to your business. By getting higher rankings, higher reviews, it is going to give you more customers. But not only that, when they come in and they find that the reviews are a fair reflection of what is a fantastic restaurant, a wonderful place to stay, your hotel is wonderful, or your cafe serves the best cake that is there, they will find that out. It will measure up to the reviews that were said, and they're going to leave positive reviews too. And they're more likely to want to leave reviews for you, and they're more likely to want to pass that message on to their friends, their family, and that word of mouth. And you're more likely to get people to come through your door who haven't even read your reviews, based on the opinions and the experiences of other people that have come to your venue. Your reviews are your advert. They are your window of opportunity. Your reviews are your posts on Facebook. You can post your reviews on Facebook. You may even have your reviews on Facebook. But your advert for your business is your reviews. There are companies out there, there are restaurants out there, like I said earlier on, that survive solely on their reviews and the people that walk through their door. They do not advertise, yet they are going fantastically strong and fantastically well in a difficult climate. Why? Well, because they are getting reviews, because their restaurants and their hotels and their cafes, their bars, their bistros are living up to the expectations that people are getting from the reviews that they're most likely reading or the word of mouth that they're hearing. But there is bad reviews. Bad reviews are a bad advert. You've got to try and limit down on the number of average or below reviews that you are receiving to try and help boost your reviews and boost your ratings and boost the positivity and the great feel about your restaurant. So that's the next part of this puzzle, is how do we make sure that the reviews we're getting are more likely to be average and above rather than average and below. So this brings us into the next stage. Get reviews to work for you. The key element here that most people fall foul of very quickly is they don't even ask. They've spoken to so many restaurants and hotels who don't even pay attention to TripAdvisor, don't even take any notice of it because they're in a small village, they're all fake, and all the other excuses, that they decide to sit in the dark side of the review table. And they don't know, but it will be having an impact on their business because potentially they're not getting all the success that they could be if they were focusing on those reviews. So nobody is actually asking for the review. And the key element here to getting the reviews to work for you is the obvious one. It's to ask for them, guys. You've got to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. You've got to ask for the review. And what this means is you've actually got to put the question to the customer at some point in that cycle when they come into your hotel, whatever it is, your restaurant. You've got to pose that question to them as to whether they'd be so kind to leave you a review based on the fantastic experience that no doubt they've had at your venue. And you can do that in many different ways. You can just straight up ask after someone is leaving as they were paying their bill. Or you could do it when they sit down and ask them, before you even taste your food, here is the slip to leave a review. And please do that after you've eaten. We'd love to hear your feedback. You know, people are out there incentivizing it as well. You don't have to look very far afield, not necessarily even in the hospitality sector. You can look in retail and see people that are trying to incentivize people to give a review. If you leave a review, you're in the ballot to win a new iPad. If you leave a review, you get the chance to stay at this hotel in the presidential suite, whatever the case may be. But people are incentivizing them too to try and help people want to give a review. But they're definitely asking for it. Because if you don't ask, you don't get. So the key message you have to take away from this module more than anything else is you have to ask for the review. And the biggest mistake that people do is exactly the opposite to that, is they don't ask for the review. And most of the time, they're not asking for the review because they don't believe in the process. They don't believe in the system, or they can't see how this can impact on their business and the survival of their business right now. There's so many other elements that are in play, and I get this is not the be-all and end-all of everything within your business, but any competitive edge is better than none, and your reviews is at the forefront of doing that. It is the utmost importance that you pay attention to where your customer's attention is, regardless of what you think of it. And that then leads us to what's going to happen next. So, in the words of the immortal Lenny Kravitz, baby, it ain't over until it's over. And what this means is, this is not the end. Like we said at the beginning, this is the tip of the iceberg. In the next modules, we're going to be diving under the water as to what actually is critical to underlying this process. This is your customer facing element. This is the final stage where you're going to make a critical impact on your business, but there's so much underlying that has to be in place to make this work. Because ultimately, the algorithm behind TripAdvisor is based on one core aspect. There's lots of other parts of the algorithm, of course, but one core part that you have to focus on is more positive reviews, more regularly, more frequent, increase your ratings and your rankings. And the reason behind that is because the more positive reviews that you get, the more regular and the more frequent, they outweigh the negative reviews that you've had historically. So just get that right. The more positive, frequent, relevant reviews that you get outweigh the negative average reviews in the past historically. So it's really fundamentally key to get this right. But if you're just increasingly asking for more reviews and you're not addressing some of the things that lie underneath that waterline, then you're going to also get more of those negative reviews. It means you're going to move nowhere, because you're going to get the same balance of positive to negative reviews that you were getting before, because you've not addressed the problems that lie underneath that. You're just adding weight on your shoulders that you're going to go nowhere, and you're going to think this whole process is flawed and doesn't work for me. So there is still so much more work to do, and that's the key message at the end of this module is, don't look at this and think, right, got it, great, let's go ahead and do this. Let's ask for more reviews. There's probably so much more that you need to do and change in your business to make this process work for you. But when you do, boy, it's going to really help. I promise you it will. So the next module, obviously coming up after this, is around outstaffing the competition. So once you've completed this, if you're taking your notes, let's get started, and I'll see you in the next session and the next module. Let's get going. Let's blitz this all the way through. Don't put your pen down. Let's go. Click on the next video, and I'll see you there.